concrete ceiling, why Black women don't need corporate permission to lead Welcome to Soft Girl era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft and loving every second of it. Today, I had the profound opportunity to sit down with Tamika Wilson, a visionary leader who is transforming the way Black women navigate corporate spaces and reclaim their power. Tamika's work centers on something she calls sovereign leadership, a framework that teaches high achieving Black women to lead from regulated internal authority rather than external corporate pressure. Her impact is undeniable. She's helping women shatter what she calls the concrete ceiling, not by working harder, but by grounding deeper, by reclaiming their nervous systems, and by refusing to let broken systems define their worth. Tamika Wilson is making the world a better place by giving Black women permission to lead on their own terms. And today, I'm honored to share the insights from our conversation. Let me start with something that might stop you in your tracks, something that challenges everything we've been told about meritocracy, about hard work, about the promise that if you just lean in a little harder, you'll finally break through. We've all heard about the broken rung, right? That first step on the corporate ladder where women, especially women of color, get stuck. But here's what Tamika Wilson revealed to me, and it shook me to my core. The broken rung isn't just about a lack of promotions, it's a concrete ceiling for Black women. For every 100 men promoted to their first manager role, only 54 Black women make it. 54, not 80, not 70, 54. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't a gap, this is a chasm. This is a canyon so wide that by the time you look up toward the C suite, Black women have nearly disappeared from view. And here's the part that should make us all pause. This isn't because Black women aren't qualified. It's not because they aren't ambitious. It's not because they aren't working hard enough. It's because the system was never designed to let them through. Think about that. 54 out of 100. That deficit doesn't just stay at the first rung, it compounds, it multiplies, it creates what researchers call a leaky pipeline, where every level up, fewer and fewer Black women remain. By the time you reach the top, only 28% of leadership roles are held by women. And Black women, they're a fraction of that fraction. They're barely visible, barely counted, barely remembered. And here's the kicker: this isn't about individual merit, this is about intersectional biases. This is about the double jeopardy of being both Black and a woman in spaces that were built for neither. Tamika Wilson calls this the concrete ceiling, and she's absolutely right. It's not glass. Glass can shatter with enough force. Concrete? Concrete requires a completely different strategy. Concrete requires you to stop trying to break through and start building your own foundation. Now, let's talk about what happens when Black women do make it through that first rung. Let's talk about what happens when they survive the concrete ceiling and find themselves in leadership roles. They face what Tamika calls the managerial tax. 6 in 10 senior level women report burnout, 6 in 10. And for Black women, that number is even higher because they're not just managing teams, they're managing the invisible labor of diversity, equity, and inclusion work. They're the ones organizing the affinity groups, they're the ones mentoring every Black employee who walks through the door. They're the ones expected to fix the culture while also hitting their performance metrics. And none of that extra work, it's rarely recognized, it's rarely compensated, it's just expected. Let me tell you what this looks like in real life. In 2026, McKinsey released their 11th Women in the Workplace report, and the data was devastating. They found that for every 100 men promoted to first manager, only 60 Black women made it. 60. And this wasn't just about promotions. This was about isolation. This was about being the only Black woman in the room, the token, the one expected to represent an entire community while also proving you belong. The report found that only 31% of entry level women have sponsors compared to 45% of men. Sponsorship matters. It's the difference between being seen and being overlooked. And Black women are being overlooked at every level. But it gets worse. The report also found that only 21% of women are encouraged to develop fluency in emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, compared to 33% of men. Think about what that means. In a world where AI is reshaping every industry, Black women are being left behind before they even get started. They're being excluded from the future while being told to work harder in the present. And here's the part that should make us all angry: over a decade of data shows that we've actually regressed. After the brief surge in diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments following the uprisings of 2020, companies have quietly pulled back. They've deprioritized advancement. They've defunded programs. They've returned to business as usual. And Black women are paying the price. Tamika Wilson shared with me that this managerial tax is one of the primary reasons Black women leave corporate spaces, not because they can't handle the work, but because the work is unsustainable, because the systems demand everything and give back nothing. And here's where sovereign leadership comes in. Tamika teaches Black women to regulate their nervous systems, to lead from a place of internal authority rather than external validation. She teaches them to stop waiting for the system to change and start changing how they show up in the system, or better yet, to create their own systems entirely. Let me share more data with you because numbers don't lie, and these numbers should make us all pay attention. The National Partnership for Women and Families released a Jobs Day analysis in February 2026 that detailed the labor market struggles of Black women in a weakening economy. Unemployment for Black women sits at 6.3%. That's nearly double the rate for white women at 3.4%. The employment to population ratio for Black women fell to 58.7%. Long-term unemployment rose to 25%. And here's the part that should make us all pause and really think about what's happening in this country. In 2025, Black women lost 251,000 jobs. 251,000. That's 54.7% of all women's job losses. Even though Black women make up only 14.1% of the female workforce. Let me say that again because it's so important. 14% of the workforce, 54% of the losses. These aren't just statistics, these are real women, women with families, women with dreams, women with bills to pay and children to feed and futures they're trying to build. Women who were told to get the education, to get the degree, to get the credentials. And then when the economy shifted, they were the first ones shown the door. And it's not just about job losses, it's about what happens when you're in the job. The Institute for Women's Policy Research released a report in 2026 examining Black women workers during this period of economic regression. And what they found was heartbreaking. Black women bore the brunt of job losses across industries. In healthcare, where 75% of non managerial roles are held by women, only 13% of CEOs are women. In tech and finance, where the broken rung is most pronounced, Black women are barely represented at all. These women were told to lean in. They were told to work harder. They were told to prove themselves. And then when the economy shifted, they were laid off first. They were the most expendable, the most replaceable, the most forgotten. Tamika Wilson looked at these numbers and said, enough. She said, we cannot keep waiting for systems to save us. We have to save ourselves. And that's what sovereign leadership is about. It's about reclaiming your nervous system. It's about leading from a place of internal regulation rather than external chaos. It's about recognizing that the concrete ceiling isn't just out there in the boardroom, It's in here, in the stories we tell ourselves about what we deserve, about what's possible, about what strength has to look like. Now, I want to talk about something Tamika said that really hit me, something that connects directly to the heart of the soft girl era. She said, softness is not weakness, it's sovereignty. In a world that taught us survival, that taught us to be strong, to carry the weight, to never let them see us sweat, Tamika is saying, what if the real power is in the pause? What if the real leadership is in the exhale? What if reclaiming your nervous system, learning to regulate your internal state, is the key to shattering your personal concrete ceiling? This is where sovereign leadership intersects with the soft girl era because both are about the same thing. They're about unlearning survival mode, they're about dropping the cape, they're about saying no without guilt and resting without explanation. They're about redefining strength not as how much you can carry, but as how well you can protect your peace. Think about what this means in practical terms. It means auditing the bias driven barriers in your life and prototyping sovereign strategies to bypass them. It means tracking your energy shifts and noticing when you're operating from survival versus sovereignty. It means leading from the inside out instead of constantly seeking validation from the outside in. Here's what I want you to understand: the concrete ceiling is real. The managerial tax is real. The unemployment gap is real. The burnout is real. The isolation is real. The exhaustion is real. But so is your power. So is your sovereignty. So is your ability to choose a different path. Tamika Wilson is proof of that. She didn't wait for corporate America to fix itself. She created a framework that empowers Black women to reclaim themselves, not because they are broken, but because the systems around them are. She's teaching Black women that they don't have to wait for permission to lead, they don't have to wait for the system to change. They can reclaim their power right now, today, in this moment. And that's what the soft girl era is all about. It's about the sacred pause. It's about the deep exhale. It's about choosing yourself, not out of burnout, but out of reverence. It's about recognizing that you are not the problem. The system is the problem, and you have every right to build something new. So here's my question for you. And it's the same question Tamika asked me. What if reclaiming your nervous system sovereignty, leading from regulated internal authority rather than corporate pressure, is the key to shattering your personal concrete ceiling? What if the answer isn't out there? What if it's in here? What if the revolution isn't about climbing the ladder? What if it's about building your own? I want to leave you with a call to action, and I want you to take this seriously. This week, I want you to audit one bias driven barrier in your life. Just one. Maybe it's the expectation that you have to say yes to every request. Maybe it's the belief that rest it is lazy. Maybe it's the story that you have to prove yourself over and over again. Audit it, name it, and then prototype a sovereign strategy to bypass it. Maybe that means setting a boundary with your boss. Maybe that means delegating a responsibility you've been carrying alone. Maybe that means walking away from a toxic environment that's draining your life force, and then track your energy shift. Notice how it feels to lead from sovereignty instead of survival. Notice how it feels to choose yourself without apology. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud: the system is not going to save you. The system is not designed to save you. The system is designed to extract from you until there's nothing left. And if you keep waiting for permission, if you keep waiting for validation, if you keep waiting for someone to finally see your worth, you will wait forever. But if you reclaim your sovereignty right now, if you regulate your nervous system right now, if you lead from internal authority right now, you will shatter that concrete ceiling, not by breaking through it, but by refusing to let it define you. Tamika Wilson is teaching Black women that they are not the problem. The pipeline is not the problem. The concrete ceiling is the problem. And the solution is not to work harder within a broken system. The solution is to build your own system, to lead on your own terms, to define success by your own standards. So here's to every Black woman who's tired of carrying the weight and ready to reclaim the softness. Here's to shattering concrete ceilings, not by working harder, but by grounding deeper. Here's to leading from the inside out. Here's to your soft girl era. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for validation. Stop waiting for the system to change. Reclaim your sovereignty. Regulate your nervous system. Lead from internal authority. Build your own table. Define your own success. Choose yourself. The revolution is not out there. The revolution is in here. And it starts right now.